Geek culture has blossomed over the last decade, and there are a lot of people getting into shows and comics. But for a noob like myself, it's hard to know where to start. We're going to 2 comic book stores in the Chicago area to find out how to do just that.
Hello, I'm Rick from One Stop Comics. How are you doing?
Hi, my name is Matt Street.
My name is Allie.
I'm the manager here at Graham Crackers Comics in downtown Chicago.
I got into comic books because when my cousin had a birthday party, I was at my uncle's house, and my aunt caught me in the art studio and came screaming and yelling at me, and she was frantic in rage, and I was like, oh my God, what did I do? And then when I left, she gave me a whole bag of comic books, and I read them and I loved them, and I never realized until years later that it was because she caught another cousin in there looking at Playboy books a couple weeks before. And I started reading comic books and just fell in love with them. And then an old man down the corner was a garbage picker. He gave me a bunch of comic books, and the rest is history. By the time I was 9 years old, I had over 8,000 comic books.
I've been in comics on and off for a long time. It was kind of like a casual hobby, and then a friend of mine who's working here said that they needed someone to work on the weekends. So I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do 1 day a week, why not? And almost 15 years later, here we are. That's kind of how it happened.
I was very into Power Rangers and Batman when I was like 2 years old. Like that's who I was for Halloween, was Batman when I was like 2 or 3. And then I had some friends who were into like Atomic Robo and Hellboy. I just kind of fell into it. It's like I've always been interested in writing and art, and it's just like the perfect combination.
I'm ecstatic that more people are finding out about it. I mean, that's our whole job, is to tell the world that comics are cool, that comics are worth your time and money. And so, yeah, I love it. It's great.
I think it's really good. I absolutely love it that it's become something cool. It's really exciting. I bet especially for people who were kids and liked this and it was so nerdy and lame and they got picked on. And now it's like just a really awesome thing to be into, you know?
The great thing about comic books today is that there are so many different forms and mediums to read comic books. Some people will download comic books to read them. Some people will check them out at the library. All the libraries have a selection of comics. You can go to a comic book store and get a comic, or you can buy a collected trade paperback, which collects a bunch of issues as one. There are many formats in how to read comic books, and with all these superhero movies and everything coming out, a lot of people find that comic books are sort of cool again. Comic books throughout the years have gone through this phase of being something cool to something nerdy, and it's just constantly like a cycle. Many times people don't want to do what their older brother did or their sister did. So if they were collecting comics, then the next generation sort of skips. But today it seems like with the wide selection of independent titles, plus Marvel, DC, Dark Horse, and Image, that the selection is so great that everyone could find something to enjoy.
For those of us who've been kind of doing it this whole time, we're kind of like, we finally get to say, like, I told you so, like, this stuff is really good.
Well, the greatest thing about comic books is they're fun, they're exciting, they're marvelous, they're fantastic. I mean, I just love them. And if you've never read one, you got to read them, because if you end up watching TV or reading a book, there's a difference. When you read that novel, you know what you find out? You find out that story has you in it. The narrator or the writer can stick you right into that position where you're part of the book. If you're having lunch and you finish lunch and then you start reading a book, what's going to happen if someone walks by you and goes into the kitchen? You're going to ignore them. You're busy reading your book. But if you're watching TV, you're going to check out what they're doing because you're not really fully focused. So comic books and books have the fact that you get very focused when you read them and you become part of the book. While watching TV or downloading, you're on the outside looking in.
The stories are great, and it's a unique medium. It's something that has elements of novels and movies, but kind of an artwork, but combines them to this unique thing that's just, when you read it, it's got a bit more of a unique experience than some of these other mediums that we know.
I think that there's a lot of people are just realizing that superheroes aren't like a lame thing to be into. It's a really cool idea, It's somebody like who just beats the crap out of evil, and It's inspiring. I think the movies have really found a way to make it really cool. Like combine like kung fu movies and action movies and make something really cool. I think my favorite might be Transmetropolitan. It's like a Vertigo book that came out a while ago. It's kind of about Hunter S. Thompson in the future, so.
Well, the greatest thing about comic books is the memories that they bring. Certain comic books, I can remember the day I bought them. And one important book to me has always been that first book I ever read, Metal Men #9, because I remember that was my first comic. But throughout the years, certain other events have happened where different other comic books stand out, such as Fantastic Four 116, and obviously Fantastic Four 48, the first appearance of Galactus and the Silver Surfer.
Grew up reading like Batman comics during like the Tim Burton, movie boom. But my personal favorite superhero is the Flash. So yeah, he's my guy, so to speak.
You know, many people wonder, where do I start if I've never read a comic book? And I guess you start by walking into a comic store and asking the simple question, can you find me a comic book I could enjoy?
I like to recommend independent stuff, because we all know Batman and Captain America. But there's this book, Saga, that's like the hottest Image book right now. It's been selling out, and there's no TV or movie to back it up. It's just a really good story. So I definitely recommend Saga, like Walking Dead. If you want to get into superheroes, like Batman has millions of books that are amazing. So.
Oh boy, there's all kinds of stuff. I mean, for superheroes, there's Marvel and DC are all doing great stories. Like Batman in the DC world is fantastic right now. Daredevil in the Marvel world is really good. But there's a million smaller independent companies and comics that are just doing some amazing work right now. Saga from Image is fantastic. I mean, I could just list like 100 different books that are worth reading right now. If you come into a store, our store, we can recommend anything for you. Whether you like horror, sci-fi, superheroes, non-superheroes, indies, drama, humor, any genre you could think of, we'll come up with a cool comic for you to read.
And most comic stores would be more than happy to ask you, the first question would be, what's your favorite movies? What kind of genre do you like? Are you into science fiction? Are you into fantasy? Are you into horror? Are you into comedy? And then they'll find a book that's suitable to you. And, the other day it was Free Comic Book Day. And Free Comic Book Day, you go into comic stores and get free comic books so you can help figure out what you like. But just come on in. If you came in over here, I would set you up right away.